amazing. That's amazing.
That's just unbelievable.
I met Debra Gillespie on a mild Thursday in September. The Milwaukee mom works tirelessly to help survivors of gun violence.
I think when you're grieving, you work until you drop so you can just sleep and keep moving and surviving.
We met 20 years to the day her son Kirk Bickham Jr. and his 2 friends were murdered in this very spot.
You pulled up today to talk to us.
Right.
And you saw it was what?
A church. And of all urban praise ministries, a church.
Debra arrived early to the location to meet us, and as she stood there, a man approached her. He's the pastor of this church that was once a bar where her son took his last breath.
You can kind of see some of the changes we've made to this building.
I said, may I see the inside? He showed me the inside, and I just can't believe what God has done with this place. You know, based on all the tragedy that happened here, look what it's doing. It became a place of healing.
It really gave me a perspective on how important it is, the work that we do, how it can change or influence someone's life.
What do you hope this place becomes? I'm imagining you hope it stays
back. I'm coming back. I told him I'm coming to church.
She credits her faith and family for getting her through all these years.
So you have other kids?
I do not.
What happened?
I had a daughter. I lost her 2 years ago. So that was difficult because I didn't think I'd ever go through that twice. She had smoked marijuana, and it was laced with fentanyl.
Debra's losses brought her to bus stops like this one on 12th and Highland in Milwaukee.
I'm just collecting their stories.
At this stop and 2 others across the city, you'll find a display of faces.
Interactive bus stop display.
These are gun violence survivors, their families, or even doctors who have treated victims. A QR code sits right underneath, linked to the Gun Violence Project, which includes visuals and audio of victims or their families.
And the loss of a life impacts one forever.
It's great to see them feel empowered, to own their own stories.
My son was killed June 26, 2017. By a stray bullet while standing outside of a convenience store.
And it isn't just Milwaukee. When taken to the Gun Violence Project, you can see how widespread violence has traveled. And that's why Debra travels for conferences, conventions, and exhibits to discuss crime, mental health, violence, and policing.
No mother should have to experience that.
It leaves a part of you feeling like you are literally dead.
This is part of her tireless work to ensure victim stories live on, and so mothers like her know they are not alone.
Some people pray for children, and they've never had them, but I had mine for the time that I did. I'm blessed.
Yeah, and that's a respectable way to look at it. Debra is certainly not alone. Since 2015, nearly 1,200 people have been shot and killed in Milwaukee. Some of these men behind me included. We often report when these shootings happen, but not always do we have the opportunity to sit down with victims' loved ones. After reporting on so much violence, especially during the summer months, I wanted to speak with some of these families to really just give them a space to meet one another, maybe relate to each other, to maybe share their memories together, laugh, and even cry, to hopefully take one step closer to a place of healing. I spoke with 5 moms whose sons have been shot and killed in the city. Here's just a snippet of that conversation.
It was my daughter, and she said, Mom, they just put on Facebook, you know, they quick to run to Facebook, right? Mom, they just put on Facebook that Will got shot. Immediately, my heart dropped. I fell on my knees, and I just began to cry. Because the thought of not having my son, which was my only son.
And throughout the day today, you will hear from these mothers as we talked about the 3 biggest connecting pieces: loss, grief, and hope. And we hope that you can begin to understand these victims aren't just numbers. They have families that are now left without them. And that piece of loss is something we can all relate to. So tonight at 6 o'clock and also at 10 here on TMJ4 News, you can see my emotional sit down with 5 mothers of gun violence and their message to try to prevent other families from going through this same heartbreak.